requires that flashing be made from materials like galvanized steel or copper and should be installed in a way that water flows away from the building. Insulation. Proper insulation is important for energy efficiency and comfort. The OBC has specific requirements depending on the climate zone in Ontario. Wall insulation. The minimum R value for wall insulation in Ontario is typically R20, about 3.5 in insulation thickness with fiberglass batt, although higher values may be required depending on the climate zone. Ceiling insulation. The minimum R value for ceiling insulation for attics is typically R50, about 12 inches of fiberglass batt insulation. Floor insulation. If the building has a crawl space or uninsulated floor, the minimum required R value is generally R20, about 6 inches of fiberglass batt insulation. Vapor barriers. Location. Vapor barriers are required in cold climates, like Ontario, to prevent moisture from entering the walls and attic. They are typically placed on the warm side of the insulation, usually facing the interior of the building. Next steps. We've covered sheathing, roofing, and insulation. We could continue with windows, doors, stairs, and other structural components as we move through the code. Let me know if you'd like to proceed or dive deeper into any area. Thank you. I'm glad you're finding this helpful. Let's keep going with windows, fireplaces, chimneys, and then dive into mechanical systems. Windows. Windows are an important part of building safety, energy efficiency, and comfort. Window sizes. Minimum window sizes. For residential buildings, the OBC specifies that bedrooms and living rooms must have at least 5% of the floor area as window openings. For example, if a room is 4 meters by 5 meters, about 13 feet by 16.5 feet, the minimum window area would need to be 1 square meter, 10.8 square feet. Egress windows. For bedrooms, windows must be large enough to be used as an emergency exit. The minimum opening size is 0.55 square meters, 5.9 square feet, and no dimension should be less than 380 millimeters, 15 inches. Window installation. Flashing. Windows must be properly flashed to prevent water infiltration. Flashing materials should be durable and waterproof, typically galvanized steel or self-adhering membrane. Nailing. Windows should be nailed into place with the proper spacing of fasteners, generally 150 millimeters, 6 inches along the edges. Fireplaces and chimneys. Fireplaces and chimneys must meet specific requirements to prevent fire hazards and ensure proper venting. Fireplace clearances. Distance to combustible materials. Fireplaces should have a minimum clearance of 450 millimeters, 18 inches from combustible materials, e.g. wood, paper, furniture, on all sides. Hearth size. A fireplace hearth must extend at least 300 millimeters, 12 inches, beyond the front of the fireplace opening and at least 150 millimeters, 6 inches, beyond each side. Chimney sizing. Chimney height. The height of a chimney must be at least 3 meters, 10 feet from the highest point of the roof, or have a minimum height of 600 millimeters, 24 inches above the ridge if the chimney is located within 3 meters of a ridge. Chimney lining. Chimneys must be lined with appropriate materials, like clay tile or metal, that are designed to withstand high temperatures and prevent the spread of fire. Ventilation, chimney and flue. Chimneys should have a flue with a minimum diameter of 150 millimeters, 6 inches, to ensure proper exhaust of gases. Flue pipes should be installed with a slight upward slope to allow for proper venting of combustion products. Mechanical systems. Mechanical systems are essential for the comfort and safety of a building, including heating, cooling, ventilation, and plumbing. HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. Ductwork. The size of ducts for HVAC systems must be properly designed to accommodate airflow. For example, a typical duct for a 1,000 square foot house may require a 6-inch diameter duct for each room, depending on the system's capacity. Clearance around equipment. HVAC equipment must have at least 1 meter, 3 feet of clearance on all sides for maintenance and serviceability. Fire dampers and smoke vents. Fire dampers are installed in ducts where they pass through fire-rated walls or floors. They must be capable of closing automatically when a fire is detected. Smoke vents. These are required in areas like parking garages to allow for smoke to escape in the event of a fire. Smoke vents should be located in the highest points of the building to ensure efficient smoke evacuation. Plumbing systems. Pipe size. For standard residential plumbing, the minimum pipe size for drain lines is typically 1.5 inches for bathroom sinks and 3 inches for toilets. Pipe insulation. In colder climates like Ontario, water supply pipes in unheated areas, such as crawl spaces or exterior walls, should be insulated with at least 25 millimeters 1 inch of foam insulation to prevent freezing. Water pressure. The OBC specifies that water pressure for potable water systems should be between 40 psi and 80 psi to ensure proper flow. Ventilation. Bathroom ventilation. Bathrooms must have mechanical ventilation that can provide at least 50 cfm cubic feet per minute of airflow for small bathrooms and 100 cfm for larger ones. This ensures proper air circulation and prevents moisture buildup. Kitchen ventilation. Kitchens should have exhaust fans with a minimum capacity of 100 CFM to remove cooking odors and moisture. Next steps, we've covered windows, fireplaces, chimneys, and mechanical systems. There are still many more aspects to go through, such as stair construction, energy efficiency, and fire safety systems. Feel free to let me know if you'd like me to continue or focus more on specific areas. You're welcome. I'll make sure to dive into the important details that you'll need for the Ontario Building Code exam, focusing on plumbing, electrical, and energy efficiency. Let's continue. Plumbing. The plumbing system in a building is critical to ensuring proper water supply, drainage, and safety. The OBC sets clear standards for the design and installation of plumbing systems. Water supply system pipe materials. The OBC allows various pipe materials, such as copper, PEX, and PVC, for water supply lines, but they must meet CSA, Canadian Standards Association, or other recognized standards. For potable water, copper pipes type L or M and PEX tubing are commonly used. Pipe size. The water supply pipes should be sized properly to provide adequate flow and pressure. Main supply pipe. The minimum size for a residential main water supply pipe is typically 3/4 inch, 19 millimeters, but it may need to be 1 inch, 25 millimeters in larger homes or with high water demand. Branch pipes. Branch pipes from the main line to fixtures, such as sinks or toilets, typically need to be 1/2 inch, 13 millimeters for fixtures, but may need to be 3/4 inch, 19 millimeters for multiple fixtures connected to the same line. Attached drainage system. Drainage pipe sizes. Drainage pipe sizes are specified to ensure proper flow. Drain lines. Minimum size for drainage pipes in residential buildings is 1.5 inches, 40 millimeters for sinks and bathtubs, and 3 inches, 76 millimeters for toilets. Vent pipes. Vent pipes are essential for allowing air to enter the drainage system to prevent siphoning of water from traps. Minimum size for vent pipes is typically 1 1/4 inches, 32 millimeters in residential buildings. Slope of drainage pipes. Drain pipes should slope to allow gravity flow of wastewater. The OBC requires a minimum slope of 1/4 inch per foot, 2.1%, for 3 inch and smaller pipes. Chash traps and cleanouts. Trap requirements. Each fixture must have a trap to prevent sewer gases from entering the building. The trap is installed directly under each fixture, and it must maintain a water seal. Cleanouts. Cleanouts are required to allow for access to the drain pipes in the event of a clog. These should be installed at key locations, such as near the base of drain lines or at changes in direction. Tire backflow prevention. Backflow preventers. Devices like check valves or air gaps must be installed to prevent contaminated water from flowing back into the potable water supply. These are especially important in areas with high water contamination risk, such as near sewage lines or industrial areas. Hot water systems. Water heater capacity. The OBC recommends sizing water heaters based on the number of fixtures and the expected demand. A typical tank water heater for a home should have a capacity of at least 40 gallons, 150 liters. Temperature settings. The water heater thermostat should be set to a maximum of 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit to avoid scalding. For energy conservation, setting the thermostat to 50 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees V is often sufficient. Electrical. Electrical systems in a building need to ensure safety, proper load distribution, and energy efficiency. Wiring, wire gauge. The OBC specifies wire sizes based on the load that will be carried. 15 amp circuits. Use 14 American wire gauge, copper wire. 20 amp circuits. Use 12 AWG copper wire. 30 amp circuits. Use 10 AWG copper wire. 40 amp circuits and higher. Larger wire sizes like 8 AWG or 6 AWG may be needed. Conduit. Electrical wiring must be protected by conduit where exposed to physical damage. For instance, in areas like garages, basements, or outdoor spaces, metal conduit like EMT or PVC conduit may be required. HAPS circuit breakers. Breaker sizing. Circuit breakers should match the wire size. For instance, a 15 amp breaker should be used with 14 AWG wire, and a 20 amp breaker should be used with 12 AWG wire. Subpanels. If additional subpanels are used, they must be sized appropriately for the total load of the circuits they serve. And outlet and switch placement. Height. Outlets and switches in residential spaces should typically be mounted between 300 millimeters, 12 inches, and 450 millimeters, 18 inches, from the floor. GFCI outlets, ground fault circuit interrupter. GFCI outlets must be installed in areas where water and electricity may come into contact, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. GFCIs detect ground faults and shut off power to prevent electrocution. GAMB electrical panel. Panel size. The OBC requires an electrical panel that can handle the total expected load, and it must have a sufficient number of